Officially, good morning. Recording started. Welcome to the Options Income Launchpad. Monday Market Kickoff. My name is Scott. I will be your host. As always, keep in mind what we do is for education illustrative purposes only. Nothing we do or say should be considered a recommendation to buy or sell any financial security or product. We're not brokers. We're not advisors. Therefore, we don't give any personalized investment advice. All decisions made should be done so at your own risk. Yada, yada, yada. It's Thanksgiving week. I love Thanksgiving. I'm very sad that this is other than years that we traveled for sports down to Las Vegas or California for my kids for Thanksgiving. And we had a good number of them where we did. But anytime we cook Thanksgiving dinner, I do the turkey. Since my wife and I dated when we were like 23 or whatever. And I'm prohibited because I am on a 10-pound weight limit lift and our turkey's 14 pounds. So I'll just have to supervise. I'll manage the process. Don't worry about that. Good morning, Vladimir. Good to see you. What are we going to do today? Let's talk about the futures in the news. Our posture dropped, but it's holding up in we can still pull this out kind of level. I hope you saw, I did send it yesterday, but I did send it late. I apologize. I kind of crashed after, but I did send out, we have a great, here's what I will say. Whatever we've seen in deterioration from the market, what is a nice bright spot in things is our watch list. It's quite strong. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, hey, I'd trade that if that fires off. So, the sky is not falling, as some people may make you feel like. The sky is falling sells better than things are okay. You've probably noticed that as you watch, whatever you watch, Bloomberg, CNBC, MS, or whatever your source of news, especially market news, might be. So what we'll do, we'll review the opening futures in the news. We are starting to get news, though we have to differentiate which of it is new news, meaning possibly October, November news, or is it September or even sometimes August news. We'll look at the economic calendar, what's coming out this week. It's a short week. I forgot to check. Someone keep me honest here. Thursday's definitely closed. But I think Wednesday is a full day and Friday is a half day. Or is Wednesday a half day and Friday is a full day, but Friday's volume will be really, really, really low. Now, that doesn't mean that the market can't move. In fact, that actually means that if one side or the other, buyers or sellers, come in a little heavy, they can actually get a good push, 1.5%. So anyways, if you don't look at that today, I'll check again sometime today and we'll talk about it tomorrow. But we do have a unique week of trading ahead of us. Be mindful of that. Let's discuss any mindset for open trades. Let's talk about the opening range, what it means for today's implications. We'll talk about our early week opportunity list, which is pretty good. It was a pretty good opportunity list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God, I feel like there was at least 25, 30 stocks that came from our list. So, and we'll talk about trading plan section of the week. This week, we're talking about routines. We've got the second half of our trading plan, and then we're done for the year. And then next year, we'll talk about isolation. We'll talk about how we can really pick one section where we say, hey, you know what? I've gone through the loop a couple of times. Instead of just looping. Now what? Now let's start picking the lowest. Let's go score everything in our trading plan. Let's pick the lowest scoring sections and really focus on those. So if you've got like a 3, a 5, and a 6, and then some 8s, then stop going through everything. Pick the 3, bring it to a 6. Pick the 6, bring it to an 8, and then bring the other 6 to an 8. And then all of a sudden, everything's an 8. So, thank you, Stephen D. Close early on Wednesday. We close early Wednesday. Friday's open all day. Open all day. Volume will be light. Should be interesting. Let's get into it. Okay, talking about the futures. I don't think I updated these things here. Come on now. So here's an interest. Yeah, the futures are definitely up, David Wilson. 0.73 for the S&P, 0.35 for the Dow, 1% for the NASDAQ. Only 0.4 for the Russell. VIX is down a good chunk. We like to see that coming back down. Gold is flat. So a fun fact, the sorest part of my surgery is not actually the 5-inch incision down my neck, but about an inch or two to the right in my shoulder blade, right through the meat of my muscle. They had to put a drain. And it felt like I was stabbed by an ice pick. And it's insane. Most painful part of the whole entire thing. Even right now, I can feel exactly where that spot is. It's crazy. Okay. Futures look good. Stocks gear up for a tech-led rebound. Well, we need tech. The interesting thing is, as you look at our market posture, we've stayed at a 0 for our sector rotation, but the one growth sector that still is showing some strength is tech. Now, it's showing it in the way that it's still above the 50-day moving average, but it has definitely had a pretty strong consolidation back down towards the 50-day, but it had some ability for that. So kind of a mixed bag. But here was our posture. So I dropped 1 point. I hate when I do this. Hold on. I'm just trying to click on it and then it makes me... There we go. I'll do this. From here to here, I dropped 1 point. ChatGPT dropped 1.25. And right now, I am still just barely hanging on to a little bit of bullishness. ChatGPT has probably veered into what I would say is almost the bullish end of neutral. Kevin, good. Oh, it's funny. So, you know, there's still more bullishness than not. My volume turned negative for the first time. Nope, volume's here. ChatGPT's volatility turned negative for the first time. What's holding up? Trends. Trends are still showing positivity. You can see for both of us. Major market, we're still seeing more positivity than not there. The rest of it, it's a bit more iffy. We're kind of at a do or die point now. And what is the market doing? Well, it's trying to respond, right? Trying to respond. Let's go back. What's the news? Novo stock. Oh, Alzheimer's trial fails. That sucks. That sucks. More so for the social impact than anyone who owns the stock. What will happen if the data? So you're asking about the upcoming data that is from September on October, Vladimir? Is that what you mean? Yeah, that's certainly a concern. Is if all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, the inflation data was actually much worse than we thought because we didn't hear about it. That's gonna yank the rug out from under Santa, I think. Alibaba pops as its rival to ChatGPT makes a strong debut. What's it? What? I didn't realize they made their own model. Did you guys know that? Quen. Interesting. What was that Chinese AI that sort of shook things up a while back? Well, you haven't heard much since then. I can't remember. Data Crunch? No, some interesting name. Anyone know? Tell me if you remember. DeepSeek, that's it. Thank you, David Wilson. Anyone use that? I really tend to use ChatGPT and Claude. Claude is a good one. But ChatGPT is my go-to. I think it's the most sophisticated. Perplexity. All right. Yeah, a lot of different ways to go. More and more of them opening up. Looking around, scanning the headlines. Bitcoin still struggling. Retail earnings is going to... I think that there could be a... I think we could see the consumer do a little better than people are expecting. They tend to... I call it the indomitable U.S. consumer. They always find a way to spend. We always find a way to spend. What else? I think that's about it for the news. Let's take a look at the calendar. Habit for sure, right? For sure. Nothing scheduled for today. Tomorrow, we're going to get September PPI numbers. We don't have a forecast for any of it. Yeah, we do. We have a forecast for this one, which is jumping from a minus 0.1 to a 0.3. Let's see. Core PPI. Yeah, I'm a little bit. David asks, are September data relevant? Well, I'm going to go back to Vladimir's question, where if the shutdown was hiding a jump in inflation, that the Fed is now going to be like, oh, right? So remember that we are 16 days from our, is that up to date? I always forget if this thing refreshes real time. We are 16 days away from our last Fed meeting of 25. The likelihood of a cut has jumped again, and I think the market's responding to that. It got down to where it was 42% for, 57 against, and within a week it's doubled back up, and it's now 80% for, 20% against. In fact, if you look here, Fed's Waller calls for December cut, then meeting by meeting. So it's almost like it seems like they're going to cut it. Then they'll have 6 weeks to process all the old data, the new data, and then be like, okay, now what? It's still a pretty mid-level. So I don't think it would be catastrophic either way, to cut or not to cut. I was leaning towards not, but as I see this thing jump so fast, jump so fast back to a 4-1 in favor of a cut, I think, maybe so. Maybe so. Consumer confidence dropping, likely to drop to a 93. We'd like to get that back to the high 90s and then back into the hundreds. That's a concerning one, I think. That's November data. Jobless claims. If we see jobless claims in that 220 level, that's pretty good. If all of a sudden it's the 260, 270, it's going to be like, oh, whoa, whoa. But we don't have any BLS data, Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is, you know, we're a couple months behind on understanding where exactly is the labor market. We're hearing from sites that compile things like announcements of layoffs. We're hearing things that say that layoffs are at the highest announced layoffs in November. I believe it was November. So this is not governmental data. This is, you know, private sources who compile, you know, what they see in the news, companies that are announcing layoffs. But more layoffs were announced than has been in a good number of years. That's certainly something we want to be paying attention to. And then we'll watch to see if we see it reflected. If jobless claims are not spiking, I'm going to stay somewhat, you know, tepid in my response, like measured and deliberate in the way we process it. Next week, we will get ADP employment. That's a private source. Last month, they added 42,000, which is not even, you know, sustaining, but at least it's positive, right? At least it's positive. But we will not get any new, usually it's the first Friday of the month. First Friday of the month, but we're not going to expect any BLS data just yet. So more waiting to come. All right, let's get to what's going on. Okay, let's start with the market itself. And you can see a couple of things. Number one, I added new lines. Why did I add this red line and what does it mean? Why did I add this blue line and what does it mean? So I have a tendency when we break the 50, which we did last week. Now we tested it here, but we broke it here and really broke it here. When we break the 50, and you can see that even the 50-day itself has turned sideways and even started to point down a little bit. Right there. So this line has really started to go sideways and even turn just a little bit. We broke it. So what did I add? I added the 100-day moving average here, the 200-day moving average here, because now though those are going to become more relevant. And you can see even in the very, very first piece, the first week that we broke below, we touched right on top of that 100-day. So yeah, that's what I did there, just so I have that perspective now that we've gotten below 1. There's definitely some concern of this thing in this type of a consolidation. Now, what else am I thinking about here? And as I said, I'm still more mildly bullish than anything, but if I take 689.7, which was our high, and then I come over here to this point, which was our low, 650.85, And then I divide that 38.85 back into 689.7. We have dropped about 5.5%. 5.5% consolidation. That's a solid consolidation. I wouldn't even call it a deep consolidation. But you'll hear people talk about the term correction. Is this market due for a correction? Well, we've been trending strongly up for quite some time. June, July, August, September, October, trending, staying bullish. What would a correction? Now, a correction is not a is it or isn't it? That is a technical term, which is 10% off the high. So I take 689.70, multiply it by 0.9, 620. 620.73 to be exact. That's right here. What is this? Well, if we start to try to climb out of this and then we roll over and we make another lower high. Remember, one of the things I said yesterday was if you're starting to look at some bearish, like, ooh, this looks like it could fall, and I'm thinking about speculating bearishly. Great. I believe the door is open. I believe that speculative opportunity is presenting itself. I'm not bearish, but if we have a correction, there will be bearish opportunity. Now, if you're not comfortable trading bearish, my advice to you would be paper trade bearishly to get your feet wet with that type of right? Sit in cash, paper trade bearishly and see what that can do for you. Let me know if that makes sense, but that's why. And you can see the next stop maybe it finds that this is a little bit above, but this gives us an area. That's a downside potential area. So I have the 50, the 100, and the 200. 50 is green. 100 is red. 200 is blue. 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Now, you can see we gapped up. We got 0.5%. We've moved, and within 14 minutes, we're already seeing the seller's leg. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Let's just go look at our opening range. Good start, and then no follow through. So this is our opening range. If we can break above the opening range, I think we'll see a bullish day. If we break below it, I think we'll be testing back down around 659, 658. So if we break the downside of the opening range, that would definitely be my concern. Okay. Let's go look at that VIX. Let's get it back to the daily chart. Yeah, I mean, we've come down some, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of concern still built into what we're seeing here with the volatility, right? Definitely a lot of concern with the volatility. Okay. Let's go to the top of this list and walk through it all. Questions, comments, or concerns before we move on? Let me know. How's everybody feeling? How is the market looking for you today? Etc., etc. Sideways, David Wilson says. Stephen D says, feeling good. Okay. Very nice. Hopefully, we have a plan. And you're sticking to the plan. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'll accept. I'll accept that. Okay. Stephen D says he expects an uptick toward the end of today. Apple's looking pretty good. It held its support level. Looks like it's trying to make a bounce. The question is, can it get through this 276 resistance level? So it's in an okay spot. AMKR was on our list. Same kind of a thing. Look, on Thursday, everything got somewhat disrupted, right? Everything got somewhat disrupted. It gapped up and then it sold off, and it was like, what just happened? Nobody knows. But at the end of the day, did things stabilize after that? And now what are we seeing from them? Okay, let's keep going through our list. Let's see what we can find today. I think we may find something tradable today. Amazon, no. APH, that's definitely potential, in my opinion. It started to bounce. It had this hiccup, hammer pattern starting to show signs again. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. Okay, let's keep going. ASX holding. That was a pretty heavy consolidation, but it held the 50. It had quite a run up, which means to me, I think, hey, I could find a trade here, even if it's just retesting the old high, right? It doesn't have to smash to a higher high. If it can get back to the old high, I still have a reasonable trade on my hands. Okay. AVGO, that one's too choppy. I had it on my list, but it's up 7% today. That's very difficult for us to try to think about. I want to move into a trade on a up 7% uptick. AXP fell too much. I need to see a higher low before I'm convinced about that one. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. BAC. Setting up. I think that one's looking like it could be ready for a turn. BE. No, I don't think so. Now, if any of these are ones you're in or ones you're thinking about, flag it and let's talk about it further if you feel like it's helpful. Okay. Caterpillar. Caterpillar looks like it's starting to try to find its bounce. I think a lot of this is going to be, what does it look like at the end of the day? Do we get a little bump at the end of the day? Then I definitely think we could have something on our hands. LITE, is that Lumentum? Yeah, that one's cranking today. That's another one that we're not going to be able to do much with as it's already up over 10%. Caterpillar, I think looks pretty good. Sienna, kind of a big pop. That one's another 6.5%er. So some of these are just kind of already flying on us, unfortunately. CLS, I think there's going to be a trade today if we hold up in the afternoon. Coherent, 8.5. Nothing we could do with that, unfortunately. Cisco's coming soon, I think. Okay. Let's go Delta. No. Diamonds, no. Ford, no. Fox. Now, Fox was actually looking pretty good and is dropping 2%. So I'm not sure what happened there. Okay. Let's keep going. First Solar. Would Fox be setting up for a put? So I have a rule that helps me quite a bit that says I don't buy weakness and I don't sell strength. And right now, there's still too much strength here. I mean, this thing is barely off its highs. So I think it's maybe just a little bit too early to be thinking downside, but it is a lower high. So that's a little iffy. I tend to like them below the 50 before I like starting to think about a downside trade as just a general mechanism. Okay, let's keep going. First Solar. That looks pretty strong right there. That looks pretty strong right there. It's got some strength. It's hitting this 50. It's bouncing. I like First Solar. GE, that's a leading candidate for me for today. Not GE, First Solar. General Motors looks stronger than Ford. Google's about one of the only things that's sort of finishing, coming out of last week's issues. Did anyone happen to catch this and hold it? Let me know. Goldman Sachs, I think, is actually looking pretty good from the financial sector. So we have candidates. We have candidates that could set up for today. It all depends on, do we hold up? Do we hold up as we go forward today? Okay, let's keep going. Howmet, maybe holding, not turned yet. IBM's trying to make a little bit of a move. That's actually more of a continuation move here. The Heikin-Ashi, first Heikin-Ashi, that's an interesting one. That's a different type of trade. Already starting to move. That's an interesting consideration. Okay, IWM, small caps. The small caps are up 1%. They actually have sort of picked it up a little bit today. They have definitely seemed to have picked it up a little bit today. And that is definitely helpful to them. I think a lot of that is coming from the expectations for rate cuts. Yeah, we're definitely seeing that picking up. That expectation is building. JCI, Johnson Controls. Oh, that's another one. So I think there's some definite potential coming in I think there's some definite potential coming in the industrials section. All right, let's keep moving through. Let's keep moving through the list. Lumentum was asked for. Big move today. Bam. Yeah, there's not much we could do to try to catch that one. Right? Not much we could do to try to catch that one. Who's next? Lam Research, LRCX. I'm seeing a number of things here where I'm like, this actually could play out. A number of these could set up. Now, of course, it's going to require that they end up finishing strong through the day. So if we have a second half sell-off, which we've seen, then all bets are off, right? I mean, a la last Thursday, right? We can't just make assumptions. Okay, Macy's, not yet. Some of them that really started to turn have like Fox and Macy's were starting to turn, and those are the ones who are struggling a bit today, which is interesting to me, which is very interesting. Okay. MasterCard, no. Meta's trying to fight for a comeback, but still no. Morgan Stanley, I think Morgan Stanley has some prospects. Microsoft. Microsoft is a no. Micron's looking pretty strong. It's a big move. But it may be a continuation style move. AKIM. I realized that Glenn put that out. Let me go take a peek at that. So this is another one that gave a nice looking turn. You can see. Hit support, started to pop. Now it's on a bit of a pause. It's not working today, right? Today it's down a little bit, but that definitely does not mean it's wrong. Very big difference. So, be aware that you're going to maybe have to show a little bit of patience with this one. Okay, let's keep going. Where were we? Netflix, no. Nvidia, no. NXT, maybe setting up. Palantir, no. QQQ. QQQ, I'm going to say, is trying. It's up almost 2%. It's giving it a shot. Right? Okay, let's keep going. The Real. Setting up. Maybe crossing. I like that. I'm thinking about that. There's a few on here that I think could turn into stuff. Roku, no. Ross Stores just reported earnings. There's not much we can do with that right now. Okay, let's keep going. RTX. It's holding the 50. Silver is a little bit of a move up. SanDisk turning pretty fast, but that is a volatile stock. Tread lightly, tread carefully. Snowflake's a little too much under the 50. SoFi, no. The SPY is back to holding up. Looking good again. STX. STX looks enticing. That's actually been one of my favorite in this group. As we've watched them, though Teradyne is nice as well. Both of those look good. So we have some things in financials, we have some things in industrials, and we have some things in technology. If you're feeling like your market posture score allows for a trade, and it depends on what else you have on already, there will likely be some things that hold up as long as we don't see an afternoon sell-off. Right? As long as we don't see an afternoon sell-off. Tesla, no. TSM, maybe. Uber, no. Here's Wayfair. Looks okay. WBD is another network. That's Warner Brothers. That's still looks bullish, but not a signal. WDC turning like a lot of the storage. Walmart starting to show some stability. It had great earnings. Yeah, I think things look okay. How's everyone feeling? I mean, the list looks good. There's strength. Posture dropped, but is holding up. If we want to trade bullishly, I think we will have some opportunity for that. Right? We will have some opportunity for that. Now, because of the prospects of an afternoon sell-off, there will not be an alert until the afternoon. But if it comes, that's when it'll come. Somewhere around the last hour of the afternoon. So, okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for me. Any questions, comments, or concerns before we go? Let me know. Thank you, David Wilson, for that. I'm going to go relax now after hanging out with you guys for a little bit. Well, short week, but that doesn't mean we won't have trades to go. Thank you, Tony. Good to see you. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Same time. Other than that, as always, happy trading.